I'm here with Collis Ta-eed of the Envato.com network.
Yes.
How's it going, Collis?
Good, thank you.
Good to see you. Ex-employee of mine too.
That's right.
He's come back to the fold.
Stefan told me everything I know.
Sure, right. And you're here in Sydney just for a bit of a move.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, we're moving to Melbourne, where we're setting up our offices. We actually had one guy who was working there, and who just refused to leave. Because we started when we first began, we had a contractor to sort of do our programming, get site working, and then when that finished up, he went back to Melbourne. And then later it came that he became an employee, and then when we needed to get another employee, we're like, well, we should put them with that guy. And then the next one, and the next one, and then we're like, oh crap, our office is in Melbourne.
We're in Melbourne.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So now the rest of us are all moving down there and trying to get organised.
But you're a fairly distributed kind of organisation as well. You've got people all around the place.
Yeah, I'd say only about maybe like a quarter, a third of our staff are actually Melbourne. We use a lot of freelancers around the world, and sort of part-time staff and whatnot. And yeah, they're all over the place. I mean, the thing is, our communities are global, so it's good to have global staff because you want people to be. Aside from everything else, you just want people to be online at all hours of the day. Like Australian time isn't really the time that the world moves on. So
is there a bit of a disadvantage of being in Australia?
I wouldn't say it's a disadvantage, but definitely, because like aside from anything else, we're one day ahead. So we're in the future.
In front of everything.
Everybody else is like, yeah, no. But there is like some aspects where you will wake up on in the morning and find out that there was like a big kerfuffle on the forums overnight, and like there was nobody there to answer it, or because traffic peaks during the US time, we will often have. If the site is going to go down because of a traffic surge, it's going to happen
while you're asleep.
While we're asleep, yeah. So we have like SMSs and whatnot all come in, but sometimes things still go wrong.
And you're hosting with Amazon, I believe.
Amazon and Media Temple and a company called Engine Yard. We put
different things all around the place.
But Amazon has been a lifesaver because we do probably not a lot for a company like YouTube, but for us it's quite a lot of bandwidth. It's getting into the many terabytes, so without S3 I think we would all be broke.
How long have you been with that for?
About a year and a half now. We were pretty early adopters of it, yeah, and we started with Tuts, because Tuts does the most bandwidth actually, despite the fact that our marketplaces have a lot of file transfer. The majority of bandwidth comes from tutorials just because they're so popular, and usually they're image laden, so you'll get like a PSC Tuts tutorials, like image, and then you have how like some of our tutorials have been viewed 1 million times. So if you think about 1 million times whatever it is,
the
5 megabytes really adds up. Yeah, so with S3 it comes out to whatever it is, like 13 cents a gig, which is not too bad.
That's pretty good.
Still adds up though.
Yeah. So have you had scalability issues over the last few years where you sort of had to have done something at a sort of almost like a disaster?
We used to go down, like our sites used to go down when we'd get on Dig back in the early days. These days normal traffic is like what it was when we get Dig, when we get dug in the past. So that's not too bad. We've had what happens is more like. So when we started the marketplaces, especially because that's the one we pay the most attention to performance, they were doing quite well, right? So quite efficiently. We measure the response time, and it was going along. And then after I just started climbing, and then you do some work to improve the efficiency, and it comes down again, and then it goes up. And what's happening is like the time between those spikes is getting shorter and shorter, so that there's just it just keeps scaling a bit too quickly, and we can't keep up. But I think that's a good problem.
It's a good problem.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and it's one I think we're going to be dealing with a lot. Actually, Amazon has something called EC2, which is like, because we use S3 for storage and file transfer, and then EC2 is like so that's like the hard drive of your computer, and then EC2 is like the CPU. And that's something we maybe will move to in the future, because that would mean we could do the same thing that we do with storage, where it's just infinitely expandable, but with the processing power.
Okay. So,
That'll be a lot of work to move everything there.
Yeah, so how are you managing to have all, because you've got a lot of different sites running, have you got some sort of process in place where you actually keep track of it all and you know, all the pages that need updating and is it, have you had to implement some
well,
sort of
actually,
system?
yeah, that's interesting to ask. Scalability hasn't been a problem so much in terms of the tech scalability. We've had scalability in terms of administration
and content
yeah, because like all those sites, they all need to be updated every day, and you know, people need to be reviewing things. And I think there comes a time with a business where you go from being like a sort of like a small time, maybe not small time, but like with a small focus, so realizing that you can't be there, like you personally can't be doing everything.
No.
So there was a time where I used to do the support for Flashdin, and I was terrible at it. I would take days and days to get around to remembering, oh, I need to do support. And then I would write tutorials for BSD Tuts, and then write an article for Freelance Switch. At some point we started realizing it isn't going to work. And so we've sort of been implementing like a, almost not like a cookie cutter, but like a, you know, so each Tut site, for example, will have a site manager, and each site manager will have some writers, and then they might have one person who does the video things, and then we'll go, okay, this model seems to be working, there's a workflow, and then we duplicate it. And then the same thing with the marketplaces, so each marketplace has a site manager, and then a blogger, and then some reviewers, and then we duplicate.
Okay, so and how far do you see the duplication going? Like, have you got like a maximum number of sites? You're going to have like thousands of these things, or you're thinking a couple of hundred, a couple of dozen?
Oh, well, I don't think growth will stop anytime soon, that's for sure.
So what's the plan? Short-term plan?
Short-term
a few more sites coming?
Yes, we've got a whole bunch planned for the rest of the year, because we have a few sort of different avenues that we're moving in. So there's the marketplaces, where we're currently working on a 3D marketplace. Yeah, and also an open marketplace where you'd be able to sort of sell whatever, in a sort of constrained way. There's some technical challenges to that. And then on the sort of the educational Tuts side, we've got also a 3D Tuts, which is called CG Tuts, coming out in 2 or 3 weeks, pretty soon. And then we're just going to keep rolling those out. We're also hoping to start like a new line of sort of educational sites, which would be at a higher level to the ones we got currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can't go into it too much now because it's all
no, not really. I mean, the new ones would be sort of more like a project and theoretical base. So currently we teach a lot of specific vocational skills. Yeah, that's right. And this would be more like, I guess, like to put it in the sort of sense of like a university, you know, you get a lecture and then you have a tutorial. So this would be more like the lecture component.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so I think the first one we're going to release will be about creativity in general. And so it might do sessions on typography, or sessions on you know, portfolio design, or all sorts of different creative subjects, and it will tie in all the different Tuts sites together.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it'll be pretty cool. I'm sure it's going to be lots and lots of work, and lots of sleepless nights.
So you're working pretty hard at the moment. How many hours a day are you at your computer?
I'm trying to keep that in check. At the moment, this last week, I've been working pretty much 7 days and 10, 11-hour days, but this is a bit of an anomaly because we happen to have an event going. But yeah, these days I've sort of reined it back to the normal 8-hour days.
Oh, that's good. But in the past, I guess you would have been doing 16-hour days.
Yeah, especially in sort of very early startup days, because obviously we had to get things off the ground. And in the beginning, my wife Sayan and I, we would both freelance all day long, and then at night time we would work on business. And then even once the business started, like there was still that balance to be made. So it was basically 2 jobs, and weekends sort of went out the window, and it wasn't too good.
But a lot of your successes come from actually participating online, like getting into the blogs, and so that's actually a fairly time-consuming thing. You've got to be responding to things and adding things and writing things,
and you have to try new stuff out and
research as well. Do you do a lot of checking out what everyone else is doing?
Yeah, I do actually pay a lot of attention to other sites and poach ideas and borrow ideas.